Yeah, I am Kate Harrison. I'm the business development manager here at Girls Out Loud. And today really is just an opportunity for anyone who has been asking questions. We get questions every single day on this account. Asking how you can get involved, a little bit more about the scheme. And we thought it was just a really good idea to pop this on 20 minutes, getting to know Girls Out Loud, and actually be able to spend a little bit of time with Jane, because Jane is a really busy lady and it's difficult for us to pin her down. So I just want to introduce Jane. Jane Kenyon MBE is a multi-award winning entrepreneur, author, and transformational coach. She's best known as the powerhouse founder of this foundation, Girls Out Loud CIC. It's a not-for-profit, the UK's leading not-for-profit organisation, actually, that's dedicated to raising aspirations of teenage girls. She was recognised in the King's Birthday Honours this year, about flipping time, for her outstanding contribution to female empowerment. And Jane has spent over 2 decades building a movement that bridges the gap between women in business and the next generation of talent. Her work inspires organisations and me, in fact, to turn purpose into action, creating confident girls, empowered women, and stronger, more connected communities. Jane Kenyon MBE, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So, what I want to do today, I want to be really honest with you because, I'm probably a bit fed up of kind of treading on eggshells around some of these issues. So I'm going to be really, really honest with you. And I think it's pretty clear as women we have some challenges. Would you agree? I think it's pretty clear that we are now seeing those challenges turn up in our young women, particularly in our teenage girls. So if I talk about some of the things that are going on for teenage girls, I can see exactly the same challenges happening for women. And so it's like part of the same process, it's part of the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin. And it's about female equity, it's about female empowerment. And the things that our young girls are struggling with are no different than what we're struggling with. So it's like we actually have some pretty serious challenges. And when I talk to women, who are working in businesses, who are entrepreneurs, they will all talk about the same issues. They will all talk about how they think we're going in reverse. I hear this term quite a lot. We're going in reverse. Now, I've been running Girls Out Loud for 16 years, so I've seen that reverse. I've seen it firsthand. I've also been working with women for 30 years, and I've seen that as well. And I can see that from the kind of coaching stuff I'm still doing. I can see that from the group work I'm still doing. So if I look at what's happening to girls at the moment and I look at the mental health crisis that we're in, and I look at the challenges that hit them around 12, okay? So some would say this is early, but we work with girls at age 12. And, we see all sorts of issues around that age in terms of their body confidence, in terms of their mental health, in terms of what's happening to boys, how we've got easy access porn, how we've got a growth in misogyny, that leads to a growth in sexual assault, and that leads to girls not feeling safe in public spaces. In fact, 68% of them don't feel safe in public spaces, won't travel on public transport. So we're seeing all of that. Just let me admit a few people here. Tracy, can you take over the admitting so that I can carry on? Yeah. So we're seeing all these issues in the school. Now, when you hit 12 and you're in year 8, all of this stuff just kind of explodes. You've got all the stuff that we had. So you've got the boys entering the scene, you've got hormones going mental, you've got the need to choose your options when you have no idea what you want to do. But on top of all of that, you've then got social media, you've got the Insta girls and all that influence. You've got all the labels that are now coming in. You've got to have a label. You've got to have several labels. If you don't have them, the teachers will give them to you. If you're a middle girl, you're completely invisible with no voice or no visibility because all the teacher time goes to the extremes. It goes to either the girls that are in trouble, they're struggling, they're at risk, or it goes to the girls that are considered academically gifted. If you sit in the middle, you are literally lost, no voice, no visibility, no investment. And we see this all the time. Now, if I look at all those issues that are to do with girls and all those challenges, I could actually replicate that for women. I could actually say, We're actually got exactly the same challenges. Our mental health is in disarray. We don't feel safe in public spaces. We're losing our voice and our visibility. We are not taken seriously when we should be taken seriously. We have to fight for our position. We're having the same issue with misogyny that those girls are having because their society is just a sinks an absolute replica of ours. And so we cannot fix and we cannot support the girls if we're not doing it for ourselves. We cannot empower these girls to have a voice and visibility and to make better choices and better decisions and be more confident and more resilient and be more aspirational, which we haven't even talked about because the aspirations are the very last thing on their list because they're dealing with all the other things to survive. And again, lots of women are doing the same thing. They're dealing with all the other things to survive because they're still the main child primary caregiver. They're still doing everything outside of the home. They're still looking after aging parents. So they've got all of that to do. And then they're trying to push their career as well. So they're very similar things, but we need to be their role models. And so we need to look at the way we are living our life as well and what messages our role model and our life model is passing on. And so it's all part of the same thing. So if I just tell you some of the things, some of the stats currently in terms of our teen girl mental health, so that I can just set the scene so that we're not kind of in denial about this, that we're not going, oh, it's not that bad, is it? It's only like it was when I was at school. It's really not. It's really not. And I think that's really important that we need to get that we need to understand that it is very different today. And it's very different for all the things that we know about smart technology. It's very different because there's no switch off. It's 24/7. It's very different because they're influenced by different women. They're influenced by Insta women. It's very different because we've now got the boys behaving differently. They are now in control a lot of the time in school, whereas when I was growing up, the girls were in control. The girls moderated the boys' behavior. It's completely switched in school today. The boys are in control of the behavior. So it's a very, very different environment. So we now have maybe 1 in 4 girls will self-harm before they leave secondary school. Now that stat was done a long time ago. It's not been updated. Most people working in a school environment now reckon that that's 2 in 4. That's 2 in 4 girls will self-harm before they leave secondary school. 77% of girls experience harmful digital abuse. 77% of girls. But because we're so used to this now, we just accept it as normal. We don't even respond to it. It's become so normalized that that will happen to girls online and that we just accept it as a norm. Girls are now 3 times more likely to suffer from depression than boys, and that's reversed. It used to be the other way. In fact, on a typical day in any school, over 25% of the girls will be medicated for depression from the age of 13. Now, if you know anything about depression medication, once you go on it, it's very difficult to come off it. So if you put a 14-year-old on antidepressants, you're generally setting them up for life. You're generally setting them up to have those for the rest of their adult life. And sexual harassment in our school is now a daily occurrence. A daily occurrence. The number of children referred to emergency mental health care, and just be clear about this, this is emergency medical health care. This is like going to A&E. Okay, so the amount of children referred to A&E mental health care in England soared by more than 50% in the past 3 years. This translates into 500 mentally ill children reaching crisis point every week. 52% of reported cases of sexual abuse reported to the police are now teenagers on teenagers, average age 14. So this is 14-year-old boys sexually abusing teenage girls. So what have we taught them? How do we think that that's acceptable? And again, schools are overwhelmed by this level of activity. They don't know what to do about it. And not surprisingly, teen girl suicides have tripled in the past 2 years. So that's the state of the nation. That's where we are. Now, I know some of you will be quite shocked by those stats. I kind of hope you are, because they never cease to shock me, and I work in this arena every day. And those stats are not getting any better. So those stats thrown us into a complete teen girl mental health crisis. And we all know that the resources are not in school to support that. So that's where our girls are. But you know what? We can fix that. We can turn that around. We do that all the time in our work. We see it. We see the girls feeling differently about themselves. We see them, getting different support. Sometimes people just need somebody that's on their team. They need somebody that they can talk to. They need somebody that they can have a relationship with that's non-judgmental, that's not critical, that is about them, that is them being listened to. Because the girls that we work with on the Big Sister program are the girls in the middle, and they are unheard. And, they are lost. They get no attention, they get very little investment, and they're just cruising. And when you give them a mentor, when you put a woman with them to support them, they literally blossom within 3 or 4 months because it's the first time they've had something that's theirs. And I want to be clear about that because it doesn't mean that they haven't got people that care about them in their life. It doesn't mean to say that their parents are doing a bad job. They're really not. But a lot of this stuff, girls find it really difficult to talk to their mum about or, their dad about because they don't find the space. They don't know how to start the conversation. They don't know whether their parents would understand what they're talking about because some of this stuff is so normal. They don't want to disappoint their mum because they want their mum to love them and they don't really want her to think that they're doing something that she shouldn't be doing, or they don't want to be grounded. So a lot of this stuff they won't talk to their mum and dad about. But you put a woman in front of them who cares about them, who stepped up to support them as a mentor, and they will disclose and they will talk about this and they will get some solutions and some ideas. And eventually, they will start talking to their mum and dad about this because they give them the tools and techniques of how to do that. So when we look at what happens to the girls that we put on the Big Sister program, which is what we're really focusing on here today. This is our flagship program. This is our kind of like dual impact program, if you like, because this program has as big an effect on the women as it does the girls. But let's talk about the girls. So we measure the impact of every single program that we run. We're not just going into school having a bit of a chat about what was on Netflix the night before. We're about transformation. We're about affecting change. We're about, feeding the female talent pipeline at a very early age, which is where we need to do it. There's no point standing outside the gates when they're 16 saying, come and work for us, by which time we've already switched them off. We haven't attracted them because we haven't shown them what's possible. And if you can't see it, then you don't believe it's possible, do you? And we haven't shown them. So we have to invest in them earlier. We have to get in front of them earlier. And so when we do that, 89% of the girls increase their academic performance by 1 grade within a year. That is massive. Most schools can't do that in 5 years. The girls that go on the Big Sister program do it in a year. 92% of them report improvement in their self-confidence, which has a direct link to their career aspiration. If you have low confidence and low self-belief, your aspiration is a dream. Because you cannot have aspiration before you believe in yourself. Because really, you don't really take it seriously. So what we've got to do is reverse this, because what the schools do and the education sector does is try and focus on the aspiration. But if you haven't got any self-belief or confidence, you're not going to make that happen. So the fact that the Big Sister program reports a 92% increase in their confidence relating to their aspiration is huge. 78% of them pursue higher education, tick. 67% of them actually become peer mentors for other girls once they've been on the Big Sister program. So our ripple effect is huge, and we'll never know what that is. We'll never know what that is. We just know that they take it upon themselves to go, right, well, I've had this program and I get it. And I know how important it is to have somebody on my team. So I'm going to be doing that for somebody else. So we're creating little mini role models. 100% of them say they've had improved confidence and absolutely loved having someone to talk to. It is amazing how important that is. At the launch of this event, these girls come running into the room and they talk straight away. And we have all these systems in place, and we train our big sisters in rapport and so on to be prepared if their little sisters are shy or don't talk to them. Generally, it's quite the opposite. They are so keen to have somebody to talk to that they just start talking straight away. Um, 50% of them say they're calmer at home. They have better relationships with their parents and siblings. Again, that's huge because this is a really, really tough time when you're 12, 13. And it's the time that you really do sort of start looking for your independence, and you start pulling away from your parents a little bit. And it's a bit worrying for you as a parent. But then to be able to re-engage that early on is really good. And 25% of them say they sleep better. Now, you might be thinking, why are we even asking them that issue? Why are we even asking them about sleep? But sleep deprivation is one of the biggest concerns in our schools at the moment. And clearly that's because of social media. That's because these young people are on their screen time, late at night or in bed, and they're not sleeping. And when they don't get good quality sleep, then their education goes out the window because they can't stay awake in class, they can't concentrate. So this issue of actually they sleep better is us working with them for them to understand that their screen time is the thing that's affecting their sleep. And so they're really honest with us, and we're really honest with them, and we kind of shift that dial. So that's what they tell us, and that's the hard stuff. That's the measurable stuff. The stuff that you can't actually write down is what you see. So when you see them stepping up, and you see them kind of like their whole body language changing, and you see them talking more openly and getting more friends and so on and so forth, you just see that happening very, very quickly, and it's very sustainable. So that's the girls. So we know that we have the impact on the girls. We know that we're making a difference. Um, but then what's really surprised us throughout our journey is how much impact this program has on the women that step up to be big sisters. And, we've been running this program for 14 years. And so we've kind of clocked this as we've gone along, and we've recognized that actually this is a female development program as much as it is the teenage girl program. And so we've invested more and more in our training of our big sisters to make sure that our big sisters get value out of this program as well. And we also measure their impact, beginning and end. And these are some of the things that they tell us. 89% of our big sisters report an increase in their job satisfaction by the end of this program. I mean, how amazing is that? That working with a teenage girl helps you reflect on your job and helps you recognize that actually, you can maybe make some slight changes here. You kind of feel a different sense of gratitude for the work that you're doing, and you make sure that you get more job satisfaction out of that. Secondly, 76% demonstrate an improved leadership capability within 12 months. Improved leadership capability within 12 months. So, there's nothing like a 12, 13-year-old to ask you the questions and to get you thinking about, what your promotability is, and to get you thinking about, well, you know what, I need to step up because she's stepping up and out of a comfort zone. What am I doing? How can I be the kind of the teacher, if you like? How can I be empowering her to believe in herself? If I don't believe in me, if I'm not putting my hand up, if I'm not being more visible and vocal in my organization, how can I come here every month and tell her she needs to get out of her comfort zone? She needs to put her hand up in maths. She needs to let the history teacher know that she wants to do history and therefore what are her options? How can I encourage her to do that if I'm not doing it? So that leadership issue, that expansive responsibilities, which is the next one. So 67% receive a promotion or expand their responsibilities post-program. That's the same thing. It's like I'm asking her to step up. I'm not stepping up. These girls are middle girls. There's so much talent in the middle that we do not see because we're too focused on the girls that are going to uni or the girls that are going for the straight A route. And we all want those girls, don't we? We all want those girls to come and work for us. And we've actually ignored the middle, and the middle is full of talent. And it's full of girls that actually of dumb down because they don't think it's cool to be clever. It's full of girls that are just a little bit unsure about what they want to do and need a bit of direction, or are painfully shy and are completely invisible. But the talent in the middle is incredible, and we do exactly the same with the middle in our organizations. We don't see the talent in the middle. We see the women putting their hands up very strongly. We see the women that are the kind of rising stars and that are going to fly through the ranks. We don't see the rest. And so this is why it's really this kind of self-reflective parallel journey, because the big sister and the little sister are supporting each other without even realizing it. So the fact that within 12 months we see all these women getting promoted or accepting more responsibility from a leadership point of view is a massive, massive tick. We see average retention increase by 18 months of the industry standard. So this is a lot of the big companies that we work with. They will say, you know what, we retain our women for at least 18 months longer because we've invested in them. I mean, we've invested in them in this program. Of course, we're going to keep them longer. They feel connected more to the organization that's invested in them. Nobody's got a job for life these days. So the longer you can retain your staff, the more cost effective and bigger the impact. And so we can prove that through this program. 85% show measurable improvements in emotional intelligence. It always fascinates me that because, I believe women have got far more emotional intelligence than men. Okay, it's kind of more natural to us. But the fact we're even improving that as well, what that tells me is that maybe as women, we've not been brave enough to utilize a lot of that a lot of the time. Maybe we've been silenced. Maybe we've been made to feel that that's not of value, when actually in today's business, that's probably one of the number one values that we need to impart. So we see that. We just see kind of all the things that you would normally see through a mentoring program as well. Mentoring program creates innovation. It creates different ways of looking at things because it's cross-generational. So we're not just talking about you working with a 12-year-old. We're talking about you being on this peer group of 20 women. So a big sister program is 20 big sisters, 20 little sisters, and we connect you as a group and you work together. So the age range on those big sisters is anything from 23 to 65. So you're not just getting that impact from the girl that you're working with, you're also getting that cross-fertilization generational ideas from all the other women on that program. So you've got the most amazing peer group. You've got much better approach of solving problems and enhanced adaptability because you've got to think on your feet when you're sat in front of a 12-year-old. You've got to be adaptable. You don't know what's going to come in. You don't know what she's going to come in with every month. You've got to be ready to pivot. You've got to be ready to pace her. And that's a skill that you take back with you. So we know that this is not just about the girl. This is about the woman as well. And, my view is if we want gender equity, if we want balance at our board level, if we want, to have what we've been working for 60, 70 years, then we need to start investing younger because they're not getting it. They're not sat in their classrooms and wanting to come and work for you. They have no idea what they want to do. They've no idea what's out there. They've got no concept of work. They get no careers advice, and they don't see women like us. They need us to be their role models. They need us to be in school and be working with them, because that's the only way we're going to attract them and create their aspiration. So we need to do that. But what we also need to be doing at the same time is investing in the pipeline. We need to be investing in the women that are working in our organizations because it's a tough, tough place out there. There are lots of challenges. And so they're part of the same thing. And this program hits both of them. And as for somebody that's been working with women for a long, long time, this brings me a lot of joy because I can see the connection and I can see what happens to the women, even from the training, even at the training, 2 days full training up front, I can see the shifts. And then it continues throughout the year. So that's the Big Sister program. We also run other programs at Girls Out Loud. We run programs for those really vulnerable girls that I've talked about. So we have lots of companies that donate and sponsor those programs in school. And then we have lots of other companies that come in at the big sister level and sponsor their women to come in and be big sisters on those programs. So I've probably talked enough. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask me any questions if you want about anything I've said.